Imagine this. A humble woman, dressed simply in a t-shirt and jeans, walks into a star-studded culinary masterclass and is instantly dismissed by the infamous chef Martha Coleman. But what Martha doesn't know is that this ordinary woman is about to turn the kitchen upside down. Emma Hayes, once a 10-time international culinary champion, has been hiding in plain sight. What happens next will leave you speechless as Emma steps up to the challenge, proving that true talent can't be judged by appearances. Stick around to watch how she shuts down the kitchen with nothing but skill and grace.
Can you believe she just wanted to fade into the background? That's all Emma Hayes craved. But oh, when Chef Martha Coleman zeroed in on her, thrusting an apron her way with a mocking grin, Emma felt the weight of every single stare in the room. "Show us what you've got," Martha sneered, her voice dripping with challenge. "Let's see if your little home cooking skills can hold a candle to this." Little did anyone suspect, could they even imagine, that this unassuming woman in her plain outfit was about to flip their culinary world upside down. The Chicago Culinary Institute was buzzing with electric energy, packed to the brim with starry-eyed aspiring chefs and food lovers crammed in for the sold-out masterclass. Stainless steel workstations gleamed like mirrors under the bright lights, and the air, oh, it was alive with the tantalizing aroma of fresh herbs and simmering stock. Emma Hayes, tugging at her simple white t-shirt, felt like a fish out of water surrounded by a sea of crisp chef coats and culinary students in their pristine uniforms. At 38, she'd perfected the art of being invisible, her honey blonde hair swept back in a no-nonsense ponytail, her face bare of makeup. Nothing about her screamed, "Look at me." Why would it? "Are you sure you don't want me to spill the beans about who you are?" whispered Jen, her niece, her eyes sparkling with barely contained excitement. At 22, Jen was chasing her culinary dreams with the same fire Emma once had. "Can you feel that passion?" "No way, Jen," Emma shot back, her tone firm but warm. "I'm here for you, kid. This is your spotlight." Jen squeezed her aunt's hand, practically bouncing. "I still can't believe you got me into this workshop. Tickets are like gold dust." Emma's lips curved into a soft smile. "Just pulled a string or two, that's all," she said, brushing it off. Then, whoosh, the room fell silent as the teaching kitchen doors swung open with a dramatic flair. In strode Chef Martha Coleman, her silver hair styled to perfection, designer glasses perched just so on her nose, her chef's coat emblazoned with the logo of her world-famous restaurant chain. At 65, she was nothing less than culinary royalty, feared by every kitchen staffer, worshipped by critics, and notorious for her cutthroat teaching style. "Welcome," she boomed, her voice slicing through the air like a hot knife through butter. "Today's masterclass will sort the real talents from the pretenders. Who's got what it takes?" Her sharp eyes scanned the crowd, sizing up every face with a predator's precision. When they landed on Emma, dressed so casually in her t-shirt and jeans, a flicker of scorn crossed Martha's face. Well, looks like we've got some eager home cooks in the mix today," she quipped, her tone thick with condescension. The audience tittered nervously, but Emma, she kept her face as neutral as a blank canvas, even as her stomach twisted. That look, oh, she knew it well. She'd seen it 100 times in cutthroat kitchens. The quick judgment, the dismissal without a second thought. How dare they underestimate her? Now, Martha clapped her hands with a sharp crack. "Let's dive into the heart of French cuisine. The mother sauces, they're the foundation of all culinary greatness." As she launched into her demonstration, Emma leaned toward Jen, whispering tiny nuggets of wisdom, guiding her through the nuances Martha was skimming over. "Here's the thing," Emma murmured. "If she just eased up on the heat a touch, that sauce wouldn't break so easily. Trust me." But oh no, her whisper carried just a bit too far. Martha's head whipped around, her gaze locking onto Emma, like a laser. "What's that? Do we have a culinary genius among us?" Her voice slashed through the room, sharp as a chef's knife. Every head turned. Emma felt the crushing weight of dozens of curious eyes. She'd been caught. Martha's heels clicked ominously on the polished floor as she stalked toward Emma, each step echoing like a drumbeat of authority. "Can you feel the tension?" "Got something to add to my demonstration?" Martha challenged. One perfectly manicured eyebrow arched so high it practically touched the ceiling. Emma shook her head, calm as ever. "No, I was just helping my niece with the technique." Martha's smile was all teeth, no warmth. "Oh, really? And what makes you such an expert?" Before Emma could respond, Martha's eyes dropped to Emma's hands. Those hands. Despite years away from professional kitchens, they told a story: faint burns, calluses, tiny scars from countless hours wielding knives and battling heat. They were a chef's hands, no question. "Those aren't the hands of a casual cook," Martha said, her voice sharpening like a blade. "You're no hobbyist, are you?" Emma stayed cool, her expression unreadable. "I've worked in kitchens before," she said simply. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "Did you hear that?" Martha's smile tightened, her eyes raking over Emma's plain t-shirt and jeans, so stark against her own flawless chef's coat. "Well then," she declared, her voice ringing out, "why don't you step up and show us what you've got?" Jen stiffened beside her, whispering, "Ann M, you don't have to do this." Emma's heart was pounding, but her voice stayed steady. "I'm just here to watch, really." Martha's laugh was brittle, cutting. How convenient. All talk, no action? The challenge hung heavy in the air. Some students squirmed, uncomfortable, while others leaned forward, eyes gleaming with the thrill of drama. Emma knew this game. She'd seen Martha pull this stunt on her TV show, tearing down amateurs who dared question her. It was a trap, plain and simple. "I insist," Martha said, her smile vanishing as she pointed to an empty workstation. "Show us what you know." A young assistant scurried forward with a spare apron, catching Martha's cue. Emma sat still, the moment pressing down on her like a ton of bricks. 10 years. 10 long years she'd been away from this high-stakes world, building a quiet life where food was about love, not scrutiny. Could she really step back into the fire? "Come on now," Martha cooed, her voice sickly sweet with fake encouragement. "Surely someone bold enough to correct me isn't scared of a little demo." The trap was closing fast, refuse, and she'd be branded a coward. And she'd risk unraveling the peaceful life she'd crafted. "It's just a bechamel," Martha taunted, the challenge crystal clear. "A kitchen vet like you can handle that, right?" The assistant laid the apron on the table, its white fabric glowing under the harsh kitchen lights. Emma took a breath. "All right," she said, her voice quiet but rock solid. "I'll do it." As she stood, whispers erupted around her. Is she really going up against Chef Coleman? Does she even know who she's messing with? This is gonna be a bloodbath. Emma tied the apron around her waist, her fingers moving on autopilot, forming a perfect bow behind her back. She followed Martha to the front, every eye in the room tracking her like spotlights. "Your name?" Martha asked, loud enough for the whole room to hear. "Emma Hayes," she replied, standing tall. The stage was set. Could Emma rise to the occasion, or would Martha's challenge crush her? Martha swept her arm toward the workstation with a flourish, her eyes glinting with challenge. "Well, Emma Hayes, let's see your so-called proper bechamel," she declared, her tight smile practically daring Emma to fail. "And maybe, just maybe, you can enlighten us all on how your method trumps the technique I've honed for 40 years. Oh, the gauntlet was thrown. This wasn't just about a sauce. It was Martha staking her claim as the queen of this kitchen, determined to put this unknown woman in her plain t-shirt firmly in her place. before an audience who'd shelled out big bucks to learn from a culinary icon. Could Emma possibly rise to this? At the gleaming workstation, Emma's heart raced with a storm of emotions, nervousness, determination, and a flicker of something long buried. Her fingers hovered over the ingredients: butter, flour, milk, salt, nutmeg, all laid out in perfect mise en place. So familiar yet now heavy, with the weight of every eye in the room. Behind her, Martha stood, practically radiating smug anticipation. Oh, she was waiting for Emma to stumble, to prove she was just an amateur who'd overstepped. The audience held their breath, ready for the drama to unfold. What would Emma do? Whenever you're ready, Ms. Hayes, Martha prodded, her voice sharp enough to slice through the tension. Or would you rather slink back to your seat? Emma stared at the stainless steel surface, catching her reflection. Who was this woman staring back? Not the fearless executive chef who once ruled kitchens across 3 continents, but not the failure Martha expected either. No way. A memory surged forward, the last competition she dominated. Cameras flashing, judges scrutinizing her every move. She'd clinched her 10th championship that day. Before vanishing from the culinary spotlight, could she still summon that fire? The clock's ticking, Martha announced, pointing to the digital timer flashing on the overhead screen. Professional kitchens don't wait for anyone. Emma's hands finally moved, reaching for the butter with the precision of a seasoned pro. As her fingers closed around the cold block, something sparked inside her muscle memory. Sure, but also that pure, untainted joy of cooking before fame and pressure tangled it all up. She set a heavy-bottomed saucepan on the induction cooktop, dialing the heat with instinctive accuracy. The butter began to melt, its nutty aroma filling the air. Oh, it was like coming home. "You've got to watch the temperature," Martha called out to the crowd, her tone instructional but edged with superiority. "Too hot, and the butter burns. Too cool, and the roux won't form right." Emma didn't flinch. Why would she? The butter was melting at the perfect temperature, not spitting wildly, not pooling lazily, just right. As she stirred in the flour, her movements turned fluid, almost hypnotic. The wooden spoon danced in rhythmic circles, coaxing the mixture into a smooth, fragrant paste that smelled of perfectly cooked flour, not a whiff of burn in sight. From the corner of her eye, Emma caught a subtle shift. Martha's posture stiffened. Ha! The older chef had been banking on mistakes, not this seamless display of skill. Emma reached for the warm milk, and in that split second, she made her choice. She could play it safe, churn out Martha's predictable recipe, and walk away unscathed. Or she could show them who she really was. Taking a deep breath, she chose to shine. "Actually," she said, her voice steady and clear, "I like to infuse the dairy first." With those words, Emma Hayes stepped boldly back into the spotlight. Can you believe the courage? The room went dead silent as Emma added a bay leaf, a sprig of thyme, and a traditional onion studded with cloves to the warming milk. These old-school French techniques? Most chefs skip them, calling them too fussy for today's fast-paced kitchens. Quite the detour for a simple bechamel, Martha scoffed, crossing her arms, maybe trying to throw Emma off. But Emma just smiled, soft and unshaken. "It's all about the fundamentals," she said. "Flavor foundations are everything." Wasn't she right? She lifted the infused milk from the heat, straining it with such practiced ease it was like watching poetry in motion. Every move was precise, efficient, nothing wasted, nothing for show, just technique polished by years of repetition. A young student in the front row leaned over, whispering, "Have you ever seen milk strained like that? So smooth." Martha overheard, her lips pressing into a tight line. Oh, she wasn't happy. Emma returned to her roux, still at the ideal temperature, As she began blending in the infused milk, her stirring was steady, deliberate, a technique any pro chef would recognize as lump-proof perfection. "I'm adding the milk gradually," she explained, her voice calm yet commanding. "It keeps the roux stable and ensures a silky emulsification." Students scrambled for their notebooks, scribbling furiously, completely captivated. Martha's expression darkened. "That's a basic observation," she snapped, cutting in. "Let's move to something tougher." Emma nodded, cool as a cucumber. "Sure thing." Martha gestured to a nearby station, loaded with exotic ingredients: black truffles, aged Parmigiano Reggiano, saffron threads, lobster stock, even molecular gastronomy gadgets. It was a gauntlet, a test of skill and imagination. Martha was betting Emma would crash and burn. But Emma, she didn't hesitate, reaching for the Parmigiano and a touch of truffle. Less is more. Her old mentor's voice echoed in her mind. She grated the cheese with such fluid precision, it looked effortless, like she was born to do this. The audience was spellbound as she crafted a delicate truffle infusion, blending it into her bechamel with a technique that locked in the aroma while weaving the flavors seamlessly. "I'm preserving the mother sauce's integrity," Emma said, but elevating it with complementary notes. The scent wafting through the kitchen was pure magic. Students closed their eyes, savoring it, and even Martha's assistant stole a longing glance. Who could resist? "You're dodging the molecular stuff," Martha jabbed, her tone sharp. "Not up to speed on modern techniques?" Emma's smile was serene. "Sometimes, classic execution says it all." Then, in a move that made the room gasp, she dipped a spoon into her sauce and held it out to Martha. "Care to taste?" Talk about bold. The air crackled with anticipation. Martha paused, then stepped forward, taking the spoon with the dignity of a seasoned judge. She'd mastered hiding her reactions. But oh, her eyes betrayed her just for a moment. They widened as the flavor hit. This sauce wasn't just flawless, it was transcendent. The kind that reminded chefs why they fell in love with cooking. "Acceptable," Martha said stiffly, handing back the spoon. But everyone saw it. That flicker of awe before her mask snapped back into place. From the third row, a middle-aged chef in whites leaned forward, squinting at Emma's technique. "That wrist roll when she stirs," he whispered to his colleague. "I've only seen one chef move like that before. Who could she be?" "Let's crank up the heat," Martha declared, her composure snapping back like a taut rubber band. Anyone can whip up one sauce with enough practice, but true culinary greatness? That demands versatility. With a dramatic flourish, she signaled her assistants, who rolled in a cart draped with silver-domed mysteries, straight out of a high-stakes cooking show. "Perhaps Ms. Hayes can give us something more substantial," she said, her razor-thin smile practically slicing the air. Something to truly test those home cooking skills of hers. Oh, the challenge was clear as day. Martha was convinced Emma's bechamel was a one-hit wonder. A fluke! Could Emma prove her wrong? The students leaned forward, eyes wide, the masterclass morphing into a front-row seat for unexpected drama. In the third row, that middle-aged chef who'd clocked Emma's technique was furiously typing on his phone, his fingers a blur. What was he up to? Emma, cool as a cucumber, stood unfazed as Martha whipped off the domes with a theatrical flourish, revealing a treasure trove of ingredients: live scallops glistening in their shells, exotic mushrooms, delicate microgreens, and tricky components that'd make even seasoned chefs sweat. 20 minutes, Martha barked, setting the timer. Create a dish worthy of a Michelin-starred restaurant. The clock was ticking. Could Emma pull this off? Emma's eyes scanned the ingredients, her mind racing through flavor profiles and techniques. Then, without a hint of hesitation, She dove in. Her knife skills? Pure magic. The precision, the speed, the flawless consistency of each cut screamed years of professional mastery. She broke down those scallops with a rare Japanese technique, preserving every precious bit. Have you ever seen such finesse? The students were spellbound, jaws dropping as Emma wielded methods that weren't just advanced, but downright groundbreaking. She crafted a scallop mousse bursting with unexpected flavors, reviving a French technique so old school it was new again. Popping up in the world's top kitchens, Martha's smug grin faltered, twisting into confusion, then outright concern. This wasn't just skill, this was brilliance. "Your knife works impressive," Martha said, her voice tight as she tried to claw back control. "Where'd you train?" Emma flashed a small, enigmatic smile, her hands never slowing. "Oh, here and there. I've picked up a thing or two over the years." But then, bam, the middle-aged chef shot to his feet, phone in hand, his voice ringing out. "I knew it," he shouted, eyes wide with realization. "You're Emma Hayes." The room froze. Who was this woman? Emma's hands paused for a heartbeat before resuming their dance. "The Emma Hayes," the chef continued, thrusting his phone screen forward. "10-time international culinary champion. Former executive chef at Luciel in Paris and Lumiere in New York." Gasps erupted, murmurs buzzing like wildfire. Students gaped, some scrambling for their phones to verify. "The youngest chef ever to earn 3 Michelin stars," he went on, his voice brimming with certainty. "The Emma Hayes who vanished from the culinary scene at the peak of her career." Can you imagine the shock? Every eye darted between Emma and the chef, the air crackling with disbelief. Martha stood like a statue, her face paling as the truth hit her like a freight train. Emma, unfazed, kept plating her dish with artistic precision, each movement a brushstroke of genius. Only when she placed the final microgreen garnish did she look up, calm as ever. "I go by just Emma now," she said softly. The timer buzzed 20 minutes on the dot. Had she really done it? Martha stared at the dish, a culinary masterpiece that could grace any world-class restaurant. Then her gaze locked on Emma, seeing her for the first time. "You competed against me," she said slowly, memories flooding back. Copenhagen, 2013, the International Chef Challenge. Emma gave a single nod. "You won," Martha said, her voice hollow, almost haunted. "You wore a hat that day. Your hair was different." "It was," Emma agreed, her tone gentle but firm. The middle-aged chef stepped forward, his phone flashing an old article, a younger Emma, trophy in hand, surrounded by judges, with Martha in the background, her face tight with defeat. "She didn't just win," he told the crowd, his voice rising. "She set a scoring record that still stands." The room exploded. Students whispered feverishly, snapping photos, Googling Emma's name like their lives depended on it. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. "But why are you here?" Martha blurted, her usual poise crumbling into raw confusion. "Dressed like this?" She gestured at Emma's simple t-shirt and jeans, so ordinary yet now so extraordinary. Emma glanced at Jen, her niece's eyes wide with shock and pride. "I came for her," Emma said simply, "to support my niece, not to teach, not to compete, just to help someone I love chase her dreams." Her honesty hushed the room, every word ringing with truth. Even Martha, the culinary titan, seemed speechless. How could anyone respond to that? "The culinary world's been hunting for you for years," a voice shouted from the back. Emma nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I know, but I found what I was looking for." The kitchen's vibe had flipped completely. Students who'd barely noticed Emma now stared in awe, some inching closer, phones ready for a photo or autograph. She was a legend unveiled. Martha stood by the demo table, her stiff posture screaming the battle between pride and respect. After what felt like an eternity, she extended her hand. "Your technique is flawless," she admitted, each word a struggle. "The industry's poorer without you." Emma shook her hand with grace. "Thank you, Chef Coleman." The gesture was electric had Martha just bowed to her. A bold student raised her hand. "R. Ims. Hayes, why'd you leave?" "You were at the top." The room quieted, everyone leaning in for the answer to the decade-old mystery. Emma paused, her face thoughtful. "I loved cooking," she said, her voice steady, "but I lost touch with why I started. The competitions, the critics, the pressure to innovate. I was cooking to impress, not for joy." She gestured to her dish, "A work of art. This, it's perfect, sure. But my best meal lately was a Sunday dinner with my family. No cameras, no judges, just love on a plate." Her words hit deep, resonating with every aspiring chef. Even Martha's stern face softened. Just a touch. Could she feel it too? "Would you teach sometimes?" Martha asked, surprising everyone, herself included. "These students could learn so much from you." Emma glanced at Jen, who nodded eagerly, then smiled. "Maybe," she said, "but on my terms." As the class ended, Emma slipped off her apron, blending back into the unassuming woman who'd walked in. Yet something had shifted. She carried the quiet confidence of someone who'd reclaimed her spark. True talent doesn't fade. It waits, thriving in simple moments until it's time to shine. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more tales of hidden brilliance. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Our community stretches across America, sharing stories that prove you can't judge a book by its cover. Extraordinary talent might be right next to you, hiding in plain sight.